Do you ever want to dive deeper into the Bible, but you just don't know where to begin, or struggle to feel like you even have the time? When you read the Bible, do you get frustrated because you know there's so much more in there? You just have no clue how to get it out? Or maybe you want to know the Bible better, and you're looking for any resource to help. Then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Context and Color of the Bible. We're sisters. I'm Veronica.
I'm Erica.
And we love to study the Bible, and we love to help others understand it better. When it comes to our own study of Scripture, we have found that in bringing back the context of Scripture, it adds so much to our understanding. It actually adds color to the black and white pages of the text. All right, we are not going to chit-chat much today. We're just going to jump, because truthfully, I think this story is so fascinating. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure we have not that we run out of time, but I want to make sure we have time to talk about it, think about it. Because truthfully, Judges 16, we said this last week, is probably the most famous story from the book of Judges in all the children's Bibles that I can picture in my kids' picture Bible, Samson carrying the gates, and then Samson and Delilah.
Every time we talk about him, I have the song, the VeggieTales song, Oh, Where's My Hairbrush?
Oh, going through
funny. I don't know why, because I don't even know if I ever really watched that one with
I
my
have Tim
kids.
Hawkins' Samson and Delilah song.
You need to put that as his, I don't know. I think
That's
it's hysterical, but
yes,
I hope it doesn't offend anyone, but it is funny.
Yes. So with that, no chit-chatting.
Right.
Let's just get into it.
Chapter 16. You could sum up Samson's problems in one word: women, and the way he deals with them. Women often take center stage in the Samson narrative. They are major players in every scene. His mother, then you get the wife, and you get the prostitute, and then Delilah. And they go downhill. Delilah is definitely the worst. She is not worthy of pity. All right, we're introduced to woman number 3, and most people don't even recognize she's in there. So, Veronica, would you read verses 1 through 3 for us?
One day, Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute. Soon, word spread that Samson was there. So the men of Gaza gathered together and waited all night at the town gates. They kept quiet during the night, saying to themselves, "When the light of morning comes, we will kill him." But Samson stayed in bed only until midnight. Then he got up, took hold of the doors of the town gate, including the 2 posts, and lifted them up, and bar and all. He put them on his shoulders and carried them all the way to the top of the hill across from Hebron. So first of all, in my children's Bible,
they don't mention the prostitute,
they don't mention
do they?
the prostitute. He's just carrying the gates away.
And you're like, oh, why is he doing that?
Never thought to ask that question. And I'm like, why did they wait?
Oh, there are so many questions. When you first read through this story, you have so many questions. Why the bare facts? Why did he go south to sleep with a woman? How did he have the strength to rip these massive doors? Because these are not like
and
house
aren't they
doors.
there?
Yes. These are like, and there's usually guards. Mm-hmm. So how did he get through? He carried them 40 miles.
Why?
And he went uphill 2,000 feet as he's carrying them. He's going up. So was this God-given strength? Was this man honestly just this strong? Why do the Philistines wait? Why not get him right away? How did he get past the guards? How did he know to get up? Like so many questions.
Where's the why? The woman was good?
Right.
Hey, see you later. I mean, did she tell anybody? If somehow somebody knew he was with her.
Right. They saw him and
saw him go in, but never saw him leave.
Yes, because everybody's sleeping.
Because why are we waiting till morning?
I don't know.
There's so much, but it's kind of comical.
It
when
is.
You put it that, because then do you just pick up one gate at a time?
No.
That's quiet.
Yeah. How is any of it quiet?
Right.
But because we are good Bible study students, we don't just walk away from the text, Veronica. We study. We sit in the text and we wrestle with it. And as we wrestle with it, we learn several things. First of all, this reinforces, even after 20 years, Samson is still a man driven by his own appetites. He probably had no real reason to go to Gaza other than this woman. He's deliberately shoving himself in their faces. But even after 20 years, he still wants a Philistine woman. Second, we're watching again as he's going downhill even farther. He doesn't marry this one. He is as physically, spiritually far from his own home and where he belongs as he can be. Third, he's still a very impressive figure after 20 years because those doors were not light. They're incredibly heavy. We realize he's now a national enemy, that Gaza is still involved. And this introduces us to Gaza, which becomes important later on in the story. So this prostitute story is like the opening act. It's preparing the readers for the next major woman. You thought that story was crazy? Oh, just wait. It's about to turn it up a notch. Now, we get to one of the most infamous women in Scripture, Delilah. Almost everybody knows her name. And it's fascinating that of the 4 women in Samson's life, this is the one that gets named. Not even Samson's mom. Now, truthfully, she may not have wanted her name attached to her son. But I also wondered if Delilah gets named because she's the one that finally bests Samson. But we also don't know if she was a Philistine, an Israelite, or Canaanite because she lives in Sorek, and Sorek is within Israel's portion. It's actually somewhat close to Jerusalem. However, most assume she was a Philistine because the Philistine leaders come to her. She's willing to work with them. Maybe she's a Canaanite. I highly doubt an Israelite.
Right.
I just
that wouldn't fit.
That wouldn't fit at all. So she's either Philistine or Canaanite.
And he doesn't seem to like Israelite women.
Boom. Which again would then, so she's a Philistine. If you're following the other women.
He has a type.
Yes. A very dumb type. But he has his type. And we also are learning that the Philistines, those companions from the other chapter, were actually unknowingly very astute in their riddle to Samson, because the riddle they gave him is, what is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? Well, if Samson's the lion, love or lust is sweeter to him, and love or lust is stronger than he is. Samson may be strong enough that he's a slave to no man, but he's a slave to himself, his own appetites. He cannot tell himself no. So it's actually fitting how he ends his life. Samson is also a man blinded by his own appetites and desires. So again, his end fits the way he lived his life. He has been spiritually blind this entire story. But Samson, once again, loves a woman who doesn't really love him back. And the Philistines, they're smart. They realize we can't get Samson, but if we go through a woman, we might be able to. He's too strong, but he's not wise. He plays with fire. He's clever, but he's foolish. So the Philistine leaders go to Delilah. Will you find out the source of his strength? And they promise to pay her a ton of money. I mean, this is a ton. She will be a very wealthy woman for the rest of her life. So she has great reason to find this out, no matter how she feels about Samson. Unless she loves him, she's going to go for the money. One commentary mentioned this, which I thought was interesting. If Samson simply looked massive, like if he looked like a Hulk, no one would wonder where his strength came from. So he probably does look strong, but not amazingly strong. He must have looked somewhat normal, which I think is also different than sometimes the way we portray him.
Because now I'm having to go back to all my graphics. I'm thinking that I've got muscles and go.
Well, he definitely must have had muscles.
But I have the big, bulky, you should see them designer type muscles.
Yeah, maybe he didn't have that. Because then you would assume, well, look at him. Of course he's strong. So I'm sure he was well endowed, but like a normal well endowment. It made me think of Popeye. Remember Popeye the sailor?
Yes.
He looks strong, but not amazingly strong. But he eats that can of spinach and he explodes with strength. And don't his muscles give birth to muscles or something?
So Samson, his muscles come and go.
Right.
Depending on the woman.
Maybe. And Samson is so confident in his own abilities and in his own strength. And so he's incredibly dense and foolish. Delilah has no problem asking him. I mean, I just get this picture of her going so hey, Samson, hypothetically speaking here, if someone wanted to bind you so you couldn't ever escape, again, just hypothetical, how would they do it? I mean, it's to me, it's such an overwhelmingly obvious, duh, she wants to do this to you. But Samson doesn't see through it. Or maybe we think maybe he does because the answer he gives her is incredibly sarcastic. Okay. It comes across.
And I guess that's part of it is you start to say that. We read it so...
I mean, what's his answer?
We read it without emotion.
Right.
What verse am I looking at?
I don't know. I didn't put it in my notes. Shoot, let me look.
Samson replied, verse 7, if I were tied up with 7 new bowstrings that have not yet been dried, I would become as weak as anyone else. I guess I read that very factual.
The commentaries wonder if he was just like, do this.
Okay.
That he was joking around. She took it seriously, though. But he's joking around, they think. One commentary wrote, Samson is extraordinarily powerful, but he's also extraordinarily stupid. The first answer, the undried sinews, that's part of a corpse.
Oh.
So again, he's breaking his vows, but he's having fun. So what does it matter? And does it work, Veronica?
Nope.
No, she obviously tries it. It doesn't work. He goes back to her and she tries again. And what does he say the second time?
Verse 11, if I were tied up with brand new ropes that had never been used, I would become as weak as anyone else.
Now, maybe this is a bit more of a legitimate answer, but does it work?
Nope.
All right. What's his third answer? Again, she tries it. He breaks free. He goes back to her and she asks again.
And each time she's telling him, your enemies are upon you.
I know.
I mean,
like, Samson, get a clue.
Right, the first time, okay, I get it.
Right.
But the third time he says, if you were to weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on your loom and tighten it with a loom shuttle, I would become as weak as anyone else.
So they think this third answer goes back to ridiculous and also his flair for dramatics, but it's dangerous because it is touching his hair.
Okay.
And what
he's starting to hint at the real.
Yes. He's starting to weaken a little bit. So the tension is growing because now, like, I would do anything, stay away from my hair, focus on I wouldn't answer her. But he's starting to hint at the real answer. I mean, what's that statement? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. What's fool me 4 times? I'm just
Samson.
Yeah. So
that might be a new...
I know. Fool me 4 times, I'm Samson.
Yes.
All of Samson's answers, however, may touch on magical ideas for the Philistines, which could be why she believed him and was willing to keep trying, because to her, it may have been, I could see that happening because these things really do something. But honestly, I get the feeling at this point, Delilah could have said to him, okay, look, Samson, I'm just going to be honest with you. I got promised a ton of money. If I figure out your secret, I'll share it with you. I won't tell anyone. Just tell me what it is. And he would have answered her. I mean, that is how absolutely foolish the man looks at this point. But now the narrator slows things way down. The tension is building. We're wondering, how long is Samson going to keep this up? How long are the Philistines going to keep this up? How long is Delilah going to be able to keep this up? And she finally turns it on. And she acts just like his wife from Timnah. If you loved me, you would tell me you don't love me. And Samson should have learned it the first time. You've already seen what happens with this Samson. Didn't. And he tells her. Veronica, could you read verse 17?
Finally, Samson shared his secret with her. My hair has never been cut. First of all, I'd like to go, duh.
I know. Look at it.
I know. Shouldn't it be long?
Yes.
Or longer than most normal?
I would think so, but maybe, I mean, how often did men cut their hair back then?
I don't know. That's a good point. But my hair has never been cut, for I was dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as anyone else.
All right. So we're shocked as we, the readers, find this out. Number one, I can't believe he's dumb enough to tell
I
her.
can.
Well, yeah, sadly. But number 2, Samson finally confirms he knew all along about his vow, his calling, what he's supposed to do, and he has willingly broken it. I mean, one commentator said if Delilah knew about this type of Nazirite vow, she had to be shocked how callous and casual Samson would have been about it. Like one commentary writes, like his strength and the people around him, the calling on his life is a toy to be played with, not a calling to be fulfilled. You know, we've been hopeful that maybe Samson's parents didn't tell him. Maybe he really didn't know. Don't drink
giving
wine.
him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, maybe I was. But I mean, for sure, if you were wondering, now you know. No,
Right.
Samson knew.
Right.
He knew all along, and he didn't care.
Which adds to the shock factor.
Yes.
Truthfully. I mean, it's just, you keep going to this narrator is brilliant and how he crafts his story. And it's like, if you had known all along Samson knew he was a Nazirite and watched him break that vow and choose to disregard it over and over again, you just get to where you go, ugh. Right. But this way to go, okay, we've been kind of, well, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't understand. And now to get to this and go, no, he knew it. You look back and go, all those times and you knew better. It just kind of sets them off a little bit more. It kind of adds like a highlight of, you knew there that was wrong. You knew there that was wrong. It's one of those, that big reveal, and you just go, oh, yes. I've lost all hope, Samson.
Yes. This narrator likes to do that. He does that more than once in this book. He did it with Gideon's story and the 5 brothers. He knows when to keep the info back and, as a good storyteller, reveal it. And it does. It makes you look back and you're just like, okay, he's an absolute fool. Sweetness. So sweetness has proven to be stronger than a lion. Samson has fallen. The real tragedy is actually right here when Samson bears his soul to a Philistine woman who doesn't love him. And then what comes after this is almost just like, yeah, I'm not surprised anymore. So Delilah comes and cuts his hair while he's sleeping.
Which you just told her your secret.
I know. You would think I would leave.
Yeah.
I would protect my hair somehow. And people wonder, how did she cut it? Mm-hmm. And he didn't wake up. Because I would hope if somebody's messing with my hair in the middle of the night,
I'd feel it.
I would feel it. And so people wonder, did the Lord allow him to sleep through this? Was it part of his massive strength? That yes, you have massive strength, but you also, like, when you sleep, he's dead to the world. Or they wondered, was his hair put up in braids to keep it out of his way, that all she had to do was like clip off a couple braids. And so it was very easy, very quiet. Either way, somehow he didn't feel it. Mm-hmm. And the commentary writes, the narrator has shown God's incredible patience and long-suffering with Samson through this story. God has continued to use and be with Samson as long as one of the Nazirite vows was kept. But the moment all were broken, God said, I'm done. This is a merciful God. His mercies are new every morning. He doesn't have to give mercy, though. Mm-hmm. And when he says he's done, it's not that he's run out. It's he's done giving it. So the Philistine leaders come in. Sure enough, now we're not surprised. They overpower Samson, bind him, beat him up, gouge out his eyes. Up until this moment, Samson has always done what he wanted. But now that the Lord has left him, Samson's game is over. For a whole chapter, he's been playing with his God-given talent. Now he discovers he has frittered it all away. And overnight, Samson goes from a man whose sight rules him to a man who's blind. A man who comes and goes as he pleases to a life of bondage. A man who humiliates others to being humiliated himself. A man with the highest calling to the lowest position of grinding flour, because slaves and women grind the flour. Samson has essentially become a blind slave in exile. And as a reader, you wonder, is the story done? Mm-hmm. Is this how it ends? What about God? What about the covenant? Will Samson die in exile? But this narrator is amazing. And with a single sentence, he gives us a feeling of hope, expectation, and we realize the story isn't done just yet. You feel this excitement begin to build as you read the line, Samson's hair begins to grow. Don't leave just yet.
Well, I just feel like it's that movie scene where you're like seeing him grinding, just being beaten, being weak, exhausted, dirty, but you focus in on the hair just slowly growing.
The story's not over yet. It's that low moment where you're not sure the hero can come back. And Samson's not a hero, but you're just not sure if he can come back from this. But then they give you that one little moment that, okay, something's going to happen. Sometime later, the Philistines decide the capture of Samson deserves a special holiday. After all, he's been enemy number one for about 20 years. So it's time to celebrate. And I don't know for sure, but I wonder if it's been a year. And so it's on like the anniversary of the day we captured him. We need to celebrate, but we don't know. So the leaders of the Philistines have this massive party and they have it at their temple and they credit their god, Dagon, with the power to subdue Samson. Now, the Philistines make several mistakes here because, first of all, they let the hair begin to grow. Second, they bring Samson to the temple and they turn this from a contest between the Philistines and Samson to a contest between their God and the God of Israel. They say, this is a war of the gods and our God has won and he's the stronger. And we know from the book of Exodus, bring it on. When you challenge the God of Israel, he will let you know he is God. And so for Samson, they bring him, they put his hand between these two pillars at the temple. And at this moment, he has nothing left. His life is over. Even if he could get free, he's blind. He will never have that freedom again. And finally, Samson calls on the Lord for the second time in his story. Samson speaks to the God of Israel, but Veronica, he doesn't ask for forgiveness, does not acknowledge his sin or tarnishing God's reputation. Because of him, his enemies are mocking his God. And he doesn't acknowledge that at all. He wants revenge. Let me die, but let me take out as many of them as I can. A man who is supposed to live for God ends up dying with his enemies. But it is poetic because he spent his life wanting to be with them, so he is going to be with them even in his death. And God gives him the strength one final time to push down the pillars. The temple comes crashing in. And this final note on Samson, where he kills more Philistines in his death than in his life, is not vindication. It is tragedy. This man accomplished more for God dead than alive. Judging Samson, he's a complete failure as a judge. He never leads Israel in battle, never unites people, never brought Israel victory. But graciously, his family does claim him. He's buried with his father. We find out he has brothers, so his parents were able to go on and have more children, hopefully, who obeyed and did better than Samson. But we are at the bottom level of the judge's descent in terms of the deliverer. Samson is not a paradigm of virtue. He is not somebody that shows how women are to be treated, nor is any of this what's good for a healthy society. Samson is the anti-hero right here. And after reading the story, we're amazed. But not with Samson, unless it's his foolishness. We are amazed with the God of Israel, his mercy, and his grace. One commentary writes, the Samson story affirms God's willingness to enter into the full sinfulness and rebellion of humankind in order to accomplish the purposes of God in the world. We get to view God's amazing, relentless love because God keeps coming back. He doesn't have to, but he does. This God is amazing.
Well, he's being faithful to his covenant.
Yes.
He has committed himself and cannot lie to be faithful to them, to continue to use them regardless of their choices. But you go, wow, you got not much to work with, God.
Right. No.
There's not much hope here.
Yes. God was going to use Samson no matter what, but he allowed Samson choices in how that would come about. But at the end of the day, God's will was going to happen, which to me makes God even more amazing, that he can use even sinful, disobedient choices to bring about his plan. It's not like,
it doesn't have to go one way.
Yes.
And you've messed. I guess that's hopeful, though. You haven't messed it up.
Yes.
You know, you can't make too big of a mess. God can't fix it and use it.
That is encouraging when you put it like that. You haven't messed it up.
You haven't messed it up. Yeah, there might be new bumps and new consequences that you've brought in because of your choices. But ultimately, God can still use you and work everything out for your good then. It's not that, ooh, this is all what... I don't think God wanted Samson to make all these choices.
No.
You know, ideally, Samson had a lot of choices along the way. I mean, we saw time after time where Samson had a choice. He didn't make the right choice, but God, in spite of Samson, was able to work and use that.
Right.
And you go, God has an ultimate plan and destination. You're going to get there one way or the other.
Right. You can either do it the easy way or the hard way.
You choose the way it's going to go. But it's just nice to go, okay, I didn't mess it up completely.
Because I know I don't always make the right choice.
Right.
I know. Like, Lord, help me to not be as foolish as Samson.
Right.
Give me wisdom. But when I screw up, it is encouraging to know I can't screw up too much. I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about the infinite creativity of God. Because I usually can only see so many options. But if you have a God who is infinite, he never runs out of options. He's constantly able to be creative. Okay, you went left when I wanted you to go right. All right, we'll do it this way. Now, that doesn't mean sin, but that does mean, like you said, be encouraged. We can't screw up too much.
Right.
God's plan will happen.
Right. So, two big takeaways. One, be encouraged. You can't mess up more than God can use you. But two, hopefully you look at Samson in a whole new way.
Yes.
I would like children's Bibles, I'm going to say it again, to be rewritten.
Yes.
To change the focus of how we present Samson. Because you said Samson's not a hero.
No.
And I feel like that's part of the quandary with this whole book of, I don't know what to do with these men who have been chosen by God, but make dumb decisions.
Right.
I would like a more realistic, hey, we're going to get into dealing with real people here.
So a children's Bible that has Samson.
No, you still got to edit it and keep it good.
Right.
But just not, it's like, oh, it's amazing. Samson killed all these Philistines. He turned back. It always feels like Samson turns back to God because he prays. And God goes, oh, good, because you repented. Now I can use you again.
Right.
I don't think that's how it worked.
No.
I didn't hear repentance in that. I heard, hey, this is how it was said. With one blow, let me pay back the Philistines for loss of my 2 eyes. Samson's still upping it.
Yes.
You hurt me. I'm coming back for revenge, and I'm going to pay you back more than you took from me.
That is a great point.
I like how it's, I don't know if that's actually in the Hebrew.
Right.
But one blow for my 2 eyes.
Yeah.
Samson was all about revenge.
Yeah.
And let me take you out, and I'm going to take you out worse than you took me down.
Yes, I think that is.
That's how the Bible needs. Children's Bibles need to be said.
You need a little attitude.
Yes,
when you get there.
Yeah, it's not a repentant, humble attitude.
No.
Just like Jonah.
No,
the end of Jonah is not a humble, repentant. Okay, I'll obey and go to Nineveh.
Right.
It was still. I don't have a choice. I'm going to Nineveh. But even that,
right?
Jonah went to Nineveh. Not because he wanted to. God had him. You're going. You choose the way to get there.
Yes.
And then, it's so crazy. Chapter 4, Jonah's still mad. And I teach a student, and she was sharing with me how she was getting angry about something. And then God just said to her, do you have any right to be angry? And it was like, oh, she actually told me, her mom told me. But just so cool that you go, okay, Jonah's anger is still affecting us today and teaching us lessons. Okay, Samson, you're still angry.
Do you have any right to be angry? You did this to yourself.
Yes.
If anybody is not the victim here, Samson, it's not you.
Yes. So we need children's Bibles rewritten. Just saying.
But that brings up a good point, though. I do want to hit on Hebrews 11.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because you brought in Jonah, because people go, wait a minute. I thought Jonah was about, but I thought Hebrews 11, Samson is mentioned in the hero of faith roll call. And if people could honestly ask, if he was such a terrible judge, why is he mentioned there?
Right. Because you've got Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah.
Right. If you read through the chapter quickly, you will realize the author of Hebrew isn't making judgment calls. He's not evaluating these people spiritually. He's not saying, be like these people. He's made a list of individuals. He knows his audience will know these people and their stories. And the fact is, God did use Samson. You can hate the way he treated women. Totally. That's not the point, though. The point is God did use Samson's life. Even to the tiniest degree, Samson did manifest faith. He did call out to God twice. He did think God would answer him. Now, does that put Samson like a Moses or an Aaron or even a David? No, but God did use him.
God is still faithful. But if you go on, by faith, these people overthrew kingdoms, ruled with justice, and received what God has promised. To me, it's the point is God is still faithful to his covenant. He used them to deal with the kingdoms, to bring justice, and to receive what God has promised. It's a good reminder of you can't mess it up. And God goes, oh, now I'm stuck.
Right.
So,
Veronica, we are now done with the deliverers, not with the book of Judges.
Right.
We're about to enter that third and final phase of the book. And the narrator is going to wrap things up for us, sort of. But like the two intros, we have two endings that are coming. Remember, it's like a bookend or an onion. You have the outer shell, the inner shell, and then the deliverer stories. That's the heart of the book. But we're wondering at this point, can Israel get any lower? What about the Levites, the priests? Where are they? How are they doing in the midst of all this? Well, we're about to find out what's happening with them.
And as we get into those chapters, those are the ones.
The next one, isn't too.
Right. But as we get to the end of the book of Judges, just remember, it's not always for little ears.
It's not a happy ending.
No, it's not a good end. It's a horrific ending.
Yes.
So choose who you listen to with caution. We'll just keep saying that for the next couple of weeks.
Yes, caution.
Yes. But thanks for joining us. As always, we are on social media and we would love to hear what you are getting out of these stories. I mean, maybe you already knew this about Samson and we're like, this is nothing. Or maybe you're like me and go, oh yeah, I have always struggled with where do I put? And if you want to start rewriting a children's Bible,
hey, let us know.
We got some other things you can change. Not change, just add the little more tone and color to.
Right.
So that's why we do this. That's why we're the context and the color of the Bible. Because as you put it all back into its context, there's new colors that come.
Popping, vibrant,
yes,
dramatic colors sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're always good. But hopefully Samson now has a new color. New tone to it. So thanks for joining us and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.